Welcome to Gyandu's 2.0 program, an initiative of Commissionerate College Education Rajasthan. Friends, today we are going to discuss the important characters of Animal Farm, a famous novella written by George Orwell. This is part 1 of the video. I am Bharti Singh Arya, Assistant Professor in the Department of English. Eric Arthur Blair, who later became George Orwell, was born in 1903 in Bengal, India. His father was an official in the customs department, and bereft of parental care during his early years, Orwell spent an unhappy childhood in England. A period of almost 5 years at that school, it so impacted his psyche that he grew self-conscious and sensitive. He joined the Spanish War in 1936, and it provided Orwell with skin-touch experiences. An aversion for totalitarianism developed in him, and its various forms like Nazism, fascism, and communism were quite unacceptable to him, particularly Stalin's communism, which, under the garb of humanism, exploited the humans, disillusioned Orwell. The barrenness of communism finds its exposure in his writings in general. He's a very famous English novelist, essayist, and critic, famous for his novels Animal Farm, which was published in 1945, and 1984, which was published in 1949. The latter, a profound anti-utopian novel that examines the dangers of totalitarian rule. By anti-utopian, I mean a speculated society or community that is very frightening. Let me tell you something about Animal Farm. The book concerns a group of barnyard animals who overthrow and chase off their exploitative human masters and set up an egalitarian society. The society is their own. Eventually, the animals, the intelligent and power loving leaders, the pigs subvert the revolution, concluding that all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. The pigs form a dictatorship even more oppressive and heartless than that of their former human masters. The novel is based on the events of Russia's Bolshevik Revolution and the betrayal of the cause of Joseph Stalin. Now let us meet the characters of Animal Farm. All major animal characters in the novel are representatives of anti-value personalities. Like Old Major represents Karl Marx and Lenin. Napoleon represents Joseph Stalin. Snowball represents Leon Trotsky. Boxer represents the proletariats. Squealer represents the propaganda secretary, and Farmer Jones represents Tsar Nicholas II. The first character that we shall discuss is Old Major. The reader is introduced to Old Major as the prize middle white Boer in chapter 1 of the novella. His original name is Willingdon Beauty. All animals have some sentimental respect and regard for him, so that when he announces that he is going to announce the dream that he had the previous night, all get ready to hear him, even at the loss of an hour's sleep. He is 12 years old and looks majestic and rather stout. His appearance is wise and benevolent. Orwell mounts marks on Old Major, whose concern is socialism of the revolutionary kind. His long life has infused in him such a wisdom which he understands to be the nature of life on this earth. As a wise leader, Old Major begins to drag the other animals towards his experiences and thereby, like a responsible leader, lures them towards a rebellion to make their life meaningful. He makes a very arresting speech that reminds us of trade unionism. He says, "We are born, we are given just so much food as will keep the breath in our bodies. And those of us who are capable of it are forced to work to the last atom of our strength. And the very instant that our usefulness has come to an end, we are slaughtered with hideous cruelty. No animal in England knows the meaning of happiness or leisure. After he's a year old, no animal in England is free. The life of an animal is misery and slavery. That is the plain truth. The rhetoric is so captivating that the animals realize how they stand exploited beyond helplessness and feel the necessity to put an end to human arrogance. Old Major proceeds to teach the animals the principles of rebellion, which they have to adhere to. His principles are later evolved into 7 commandments by the other pigs. Thus we see how Old Major is humane, despite being revolutionary. Old Major is Karl Marx, an idealist with no knowledge of the know-how of translating welfare measures into reality. He is not selfish. Despite sowing the seeds of self-respect among animals, he lapses into oblivion as the novel proceeds. After his demise, he is remembered with all reverence. In the novel, man stands for capitalism and Old Major for the proletariat sect. There are corollaries between Old Major and Lenin, who was the front leader of the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. But both are left in oblivion in the long run due to the selfish motives of the subsequent administrators. The next major character is Napoleon. Orwell launches his satiric missile through Napoleon towards Stalin. Like Stalin, Napoleon is opportunistic, for that is his wisdom, and he never suffers from pangs of conscience. Orwell's description of Napoleon as preeminent Napoleon was a large, rather fierce-looking Berkshire boar, not much of a talker, but with a reputation for getting his own way, is described in chapter 2. With human beings gone, there was more for everyone to eat. There was more leisure too. Inexperienced though the animals were, the transformation from this state begins when, during debates, Snowball and Napoleon begin to differ in their thinking. It begins to ascend with Napoleon's lack of enthusiasm in Snowball's constitution of committees. When Napoleon says that the education of the young is more important than anything that could be done for those who are already grown up, we get the clue that he's up to devise something different than that might be detrimental to animal interests. This results in Napoleon's taking away the 9 sturdy puppies whelped by Jessie and Bluebell. The breeding of the Soviet secret police finds its parallelism here. Napoleon's strengthening of himself with a pack of huge dogs begins to mark his dangerous deviation. Snowball, who's Napoleon's equal, but with more wisdom, is driven out by the dogs. Now we must remember Trotsky here. Trotsky, who was in exile, and there is Squealer's tirade against Snowball, of course under instructions from Napoleon. The deck is clear now for executing Napoleon's plans, taking advantage of the insufficient awareness of the animals whose burden instead of welfare starts escalating. With Snowball gone, Napoleon's arrogance and authority intensify, resulting in other animals being questioned and intimidated. The class difference between the pigs and other animals, with the former being projected as the brainy and creamy lot, it widens. Napoleon soon transforms into a mysterious, inaccessible, and fearful personality. To some extent, he becomes lovable, not because he does something to that effect, but because of the hatred for Snowball that he tries to infuse in other animals, attributing reasons of hypocrisy and treason. The animals begin to regard Napoleon with awe. Napoleon's self-election as the President of the Republic of the Animal Farm also takes place. He takes care to keep the pigs away from other animals. thereby creating a class. Thus, he creates the ruling and working classes, the former with the privileges of luxuries and education and honors, and the latter with more labor, less food, and bereft of even a chance to complain. Thus, he becomes an animal Jones, leaving communism in shreds. Our next character is Snowball. What we find in Animal Farm is corruption of politics and politics of corruption. Snowball takes up the reins of the rebellion after the demise of Old Major. A boar with a more imaginative bent of mind, Snowball is more dynamic and pragmatic in its drive. He is futuristic and racy. He is the sole author of the formation of animalism, which is communism. By mixing the rebellious principles of Old Major, which find transformation into the seven commandments. He devises the literacy program for the other animals and constitutes the various animal committees. He also takes into cognizance the inability of other animals who cannot understand things and makes precise the seven commandments into a capsulated form: four legs good, two legs bad. He is plain, honest, and genuine incarnate. He is a visionary in the sense that he foresees trouble in the troubled men and is responsible for the victory in the Battle of Cowshed. Snowball is more pragmatic and scientific, for he wants to convert the animal farm into a more scientific area where animals in general would be deprived of their physical exertion and hurdles and be provided with more facilities. This is evidenced in the conception of the windmill. Ironically, his windmill proposal sparks off a controversy as it infuriates the already simmering Napoleon, who wants to dispense with Snowball under some or the other pretext. It is scheming and inhuman action which prevails, and eventually Napoleon's mechanizations and calculated propaganda against Snowball lead to his banishment. Whenever anything goes wrong, Napoleon holds Snowball responsible for it, and the other animals are gradually brainwashed of the good thinking about Snowball. The allegorical meaning of Snowball's character is to be seen in Trotsky's companionship with Lenin to bring about a society of communism. Our next character is Boxer. Boxer is an enormous beast, nearly 18 hands in height, and is as strong as any two ordinary horses put together. He is not of first-rate intelligence, but is universally respected for his steadiness of character and tremendous powers of work. While the pigs are symbol of brain power, Boxer is known for robust and raw power, which almost is safely contributive to the erection of the windmill. Working hard seems to be his only obsession, and he does it unfalteringly. In fact, the true animalistic after the demise of old Major is Boxer, whose gentle behavior is seen at the beginning when he walks slowly and sets down his hairy hoof with great care, lest there should be some small animal concealed in the straw. Both Boxer and Clover are the most faithful disciples of the pigs. They have great difficulty in thinking anything out of themselves. But having once accepted the pigs as their teachers, they absorb everything that they are told and pass it on to the other animals by simple arguments. I will work harder. This is his personal motto. From Boxer's actions and limitations in knowledge, we find the proletariat imprint. There are some other characters also in the novel. They are Clover, Benjamin, Moses the Raven, Molly, Squealer, and other human characters as well. That we shall do in the second part of the video. Thank you.